This is going to be video number 71 on your Firearms Defense channel, video number 2 in my series on critical thinking. Now, this video today is going to be about concealed carry, and I'm mainly making this video just to prove that I'm just not a right-wing gun nut that just advocates a right-wing agenda and so much, that I am capable of critical thinking. And today I'm going to do a video on some of the shortcomings of concealed carry and what your problems are that you're going to have with it if you do in fact decide to get licensed to carry a concealed weapon. Now, it isn't really a panacea that it's cracked up to be by a lot of people. Now, it does have its good sides, and it is useful in a lot of instances, but it also has a certain amount of shortcomings. Now, the first thing is you're probably going to get a lot of hassle from the police, because to be perfectly honest, the police don't like citizens to have concealed carry, and you're liable to be out someplace and somebody's liable to notice that you're carrying a weapon and call the police, and then send in the SWAT team and surround you, and then you've got to explain in 25 words or less why you're carrying and show them your permit and all this sort of stuff. And it's just a big hassle, and you've got to be, in fact, you have to be real careful in those situations that you don't get shot. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is they call them concealed carry laws for a reason, and that is they have to be concealed. You have to have your weapon covered up. Now, what this means is, as a practical matter, you're probably going to be wearing at least a sport coat, maybe a heavier coat if it's winter or something like that. But if you're somewhere where it's real hot in the summer and you have to wear a sport coat or something to cover your weapon up, that can be a real pain. And when you do that, you have to kind of stay in air-conditioned places and stuff like that. And there's probably a lot of days where you'd rather be wearing just a short-sleeved shirt and that's it, but you can't do that because you have to cover your weapon. So that's another downside to it. Now, also, a lot of people don't think about this or don't realize it, but in the states that do have concealed carry available to the citizens, you can't carry everywhere. In fact, there's a lot of places that are posted that you can't carry concealed. Some examples here are school zones, banks, churches, airports, and anywhere else that post private businesses and places that post. In fact, a lot of restaurants post that they don't have concealed carry. And banks, in fact, have a reason for that. They don't want people in there that have their weapons on them in case they get robbed. In case a bank gets robbed, they just want to give the robbers some money and have them go away, because their philosophy is the money is insured, we can replace it, it's not a problem. So those are just some of the things you run into. Now, here in Los Angeles County where I live, I don't have any of these issues because they just flat don't issue concealed carry permits to citizens. They've in the city of Santa Monica, right next to where I live, they've issued 2 concealed carry permits in all the years that they've been up there. So, okay. And then the last thing is, the reason I would never consider carrying anyway is I don't want a weapons conviction, because if I get a weapons conviction, then I can't train at front sight, because they do a background check every year that costs $50, no exceptions, and if you've got something like a weapons conviction, you're just not going to be able to train there. So that's just some of the shortcomings. And then I want to tell you about another thing here. Now, I received this video from Front Sight, and in fact it's posted on YouTube, and it's about a gentleman named Lance Thomas who owned a watch business up in Westwood, and where he's located, the merchants up there had a lot of problems with armed robberies and stuff like that. So I think he was either held up once, or a lot of merchants in his area were being held up. So he obtained a weapon and kept it under his counter, and the first time somebody came in and tried to hold him up, he killed one of them anyway. And that was the start of it. And now, these people that held him up were gangbangers, and after that they just didn't let him alone. So he did the sensible thing, and he got a lot of training and burned up a lot of ammunition at the local range, and learned to use his weapon real well. And in about 5 years' time, he had about 5 different attempted robberies, and he killed 5 people there. And anyway, that's why the city of Santa Monica, he was one of the 2 people in the last 40 years or whatever that have been issued a concealed carry permit, and that's why they issued him a concealed carry permit. Now, I've talked about common sense here and critical thinking, and that's why I'm making these videos. Now at some point along the line, now he had the attitude that I'm just not going to tolerate this. I'm not going to stand for this. I have a right to be here, and I'm going to defend myself. And anybody that robs me is going to get shot and killed. Well, that's fine if he feels that way. That's great. I'm 100% for him. But by the same token, there's always the option to disengage. Let's say you're a merchant in one of these areas, and you know what the story is, and you're running into gang problems and stuff like that in the area. It's a perfectly reasonable thing to do, to sell out and move to some area of white supremacy and set up shop and just live there and live happily ever after. Now, by the same token, these gang members aren't overly bright either. In fact, they're at the low end of the scale as far as stupidity goes. I mean, these people are real stupid. You would think at some point along the line they would say, maybe we shouldn't bother this guy. He's killed 2 of us already. Maybe it's not a good idea to hold him up. Let's hold up the other shopkeepers in the area, but leave him alone. They could have made that decision and disengaged, but nobody seems to disengage in these things, and you have what you have, and it turns out the way it does. And anyway, the videos about him are on YouTube if you care to watch them. It's real interesting. It's Lance Thomas. It's spelled L-A-N-C-E-T-H-O-M-A-S. Now, one more thing I want to talk about here on concealed carry. Now, if you in fact get a concealed carry permit and in fact do carry a weapon, it's up to you to know what the laws are, and it's up to you to know when you're justified in using deadly force. Now, this is something that you're going to have to do some reading on and do some research on and get familiar with. And in fact, it helps if you do a lot of that. Now, to this end, there is something I subscribe to called usconcealedcarry.com, and they're on the internet, and you get all your information that way. And if you subscribe, they'll send you a quarterly report, a little magazine that's worth reading. And it's worth reading these things from cover to cover and watching all the stuff that they have, because their information is real good. Now, I want to go over briefly their report here, number 212 that they issued. And there's a gentleman named Massad F. Ayoob. It's spelled M-A-S-S-A-D-F-A-Y-O-O-B. Now, in 1990, he made a DVD titled The Judicious Use of Deadly Force, and it sells for $34.95, and it's available on his internet site. It's www.ayoob.com, AYOOB.com. And he also has a book there available called, it was written in 1980, it's called In the Gravest Extreme, The Role of the Firearm in Personal Defense, and it sells for $12.95. The DVD sells for $34.95. And in fact, if you're going to carry concealed and for that reason have the possibility of utilizing deadly force, these are two materials that are well worth getting and becoming familiar with, because as I say, if you're going to do this, you need to know the law. Now, I don't have that problem, of course, in LA County here, because they're not going to issue me a concealed carry permit. So all I'm going to do is be able to make movies and go to front sight and learn to shoot. But what the heck, that's fun too. So anyway, that's about all I wanted to cover here on video number 71. So I'm going to sign off on this one, and I'll see you on video number 72.